So, one of Delhi's oldest social club, the elite club, Delhi Gymkhana, is facing a battle for its survival. How do you see the recent action of the government or the local authorities?
This case has actually had a very interesting start, as I see it. The Delhi Gymkhana Club controversy really started because the government felt that it did not have enough control over the functioning of the Delhi Gymkhana Club. The government felt that the government nominees were not getting enough membership in the Delhi Gymkhana Club. The government was upset that while permanent members, children were getting membership, the children of government officers who got their membership when their children became more than 21 years of age were not getting the similar membership. All this resulted in a petition in the NCLT where they said that we want to take over the management of the club because the club membership is not, made transparently. Now, this kind of an allegation was made notwithstanding the fact that the Delhi Gymkhana Club has a robust system where 50% of all permanent membership is given to government only, and the rest 50% only goes to people who are not in the government. Children who get membership is also given under the bylaws, and which is true in every club of this country. Every club has this rule of children who become 21 are eligible to get some kind of a right to use the club, because the philosophy is that a member of the club is really the owner of the club. It's a company under Section 8 of the Companies Act, which is and the owners of the company are the members of the club. So the rule says that if the child becomes 21 and if he has used the club before 21, he has a right to apply and to get the right to continue to use the facilities of the club, which is common in every club of this country. Now, the problem really arose because officers of the government who took membership when they were later, when they were seniors, and obviously the children had crossed 21 by the time they got membership, they could not get because the philosophy of having used the club as a child was not available to them, and accordingly their children didn't get membership. This NCLT petition was, justified the takeover of the club, and the club remained in the management of the government for almost 4 or 5 years. And ultimately they lost because they could not find anything substantially wrong in the functioning of the club. And the NCLAT said that you go ahead and do the elections and give back the control of the club to the elected members who will have their own general committee, which is how any club is run in this country. Now, when the matter stood thus, of the NCLAT having taken a decision that the election should be held and the government nominees who are running the club did not want to hold the election, they were continuing unauthorizedly to continue to manage the club in spite of a judgment against them. They went to the Supreme Court by a belated appeal, which is not admissible because a judgment of the Supreme Court very clearly says that if the appeal is beyond time, there is no power even with the Supreme Court to condone the delay. While this appeal is pending, this notification is taken out. Now, this notification is wrong in many ways. Firstly, there is no, this is a perpetual lease. A perpetual lease given in, about 20 years before independence did not have any renewal clause. The only clause with regard to, taking over the club was this public purpose. And when they went to the NCLT, they themselves claimed a public purpose, that is of the club not being run properly. So that means a running of a club properly like a club itself was a public purpose. If the club to be run like a club was a public purpose because of which the government was justified in taking over the management of the club by using the public purpose answer, how could the government use the same public purpose to say that now dismantling the club is also public purpose? Now, the order by which the takeover is thought to be done, the does not mention any specific purpose, public purpose. It starts with defense and then infrastructure, and anything you can think can be used for public purposes, all mentioned in that order. And the order says that the club will be taken over from the 5th of June. In my view, the problem really is of the membership. The problem really is of government control of the club. The problem is, if this is not the problem, then the problem is the government does not want institutions like clubs to run at all. And they consider this to be part of the British legacy. Now, if this logic were to be accepted, then today, ultimately, like the Delhi Gymkhana Club, which has about 27 acres of land, the Delhi Golf Club has about 300 acres of land. And also run by the members of the club, where also children have a right to be members. A similar club is the Delhi District Cricket Association, also a Section 8 company. Now, Section 8 company, if the criteria that there is not having a transparent system or a proper system of having the right people as members is the criteria, then DDCA has 20, 30 members in every household. A person who's a member has his wife as a member, his son as a member, his daughter-in-law as a member, his daughter as a member, son-in-law as a member, Samdi as a member, Samdin as a member, even servants as a member. And that is how DDCA is being controlled today. And petition is pending in the High Court for the last 4 years, and nobody is ready to look at that petition because it is controlled by the ruling party in the country. So this kind of intolerance, if it has to be accepted as a anti-club or an anti-Section 8 company, measure, then I don't see how any club in this country will survive. I don't see how DDCA should survive with this kind of membership that it has. The DDCA is also very prime land. There is definitely a very good justification to move out the cricket stadium out of that, very highly congested area and take it outside the Delhi, which is what is the need of the hour today. And take over the DDCA also, because that land can be very gainfully utilized for, the infrastructure development of the city. So I think this is something which needs to be looked at more seriously as to whether this club culture should continue at all or not. If the club culture should continue, because what ultimately is a club? Delhi Gymkhana Club is a club for sporting facilities. It has got 27 grass courts and 7 hardcourt tennis courts. This is the maximum sporting facility as far as tennis is concerned in the entire country today. I don't think any club in the country can boast of such a huge infrastructure for sports. And this is basically a sporting club. If you want to dismantle this club and take it away, basically you are anti-sports, because there are squash courts there, there are badminton courts there are volleyball, there is table tennis, the swimming pools are there. So this club was meant to be for the purpose of sporting activity. If you dismantle the club and if you take over the land, obviously all this sporting activity will have to close down. And obviously then you are also sending out a signal that you are anti-sports. So I think this is a very, very serious issue, and this needs to be looked at more, comprehensively to see whether the government should have the right to use the public purpose doctrine to take over a running club which has been in existence for more than 113 years to date. This club started in 1913. And it is a 113-year-old club. There is an association called the Centenary Clubs of the World, and Gymkhana Club is a member of the Centenary Clubs of the World. And to suddenly say that the club has to leave this venue and go away, or it is to be taken over for some public purpose, is definitely having there is definitely some hidden agenda in this entire exercise, which needs to be very carefully looked at if the government really feels that it can go ahead and take over this club in this manner.